Hey, welcome to Continuing the Conversation, where we like to just continue the conversation.
Yes,
I'm,
yes, we are
I'm telling
continuing
that for the new viewers, the very first time they're tuning in.
Well, we're so glad you're here
Yeah.
this very first time.
Yes.
Now, that being said, we release this, Mondays at noon or something?
Noonish.
It's Memorial Day weekend.
Ooh, we're going to do it anyway.
You think people are sitting waiting for it to
Yes.
drop, as the kids say?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, Mark 14, 1 to 9.
Yes.
As I was listening yesterday on Sunday. I just couldn't help but think, I don't have any spikenard.
It's true. It's very expensive.
Yes, my
But-
essential oil lady is out of business right now.
Yes, they all are. Next time we go to Nepal, we will pick up some spikenard for you
Okay.
and for the others.
Yes. So, I guess help me understand the modern day spikenard. The act of devotion for the New Testament Christian that looks like it didn't produce anything, or is recklessly devotion.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Okay, good question. Because I didn't even know what nard was until I kind of went back. I looked and I said, "Oh, spikenard. I've heard of that." And so, yeah, we don't have flasks full of spikenard in our homes that we can offer, and that's the lesson we learn from here. But I do think anytime a worshiper of the Lord has this sense of a calling towards something that others might look at and say that's reckless or that's ridiculous or stupid. Maybe they might even go so far and say something like that.
Yes.
I think that's the correlation to our day. So I think of the high school kid who God's doing a good work in his life. He grew up in the church, she grew up in the church all those years, and nice kid and all that kind of stuff. But somewhere, junior, senior year, God began to do this stirring work, and they're really coming to know the Lord for themselves. They go and they talk to their Christian parents, mom and dad, and they say, I think God wants me to go to a Bible college, or I think God wants me to go to the mission field. And even Christian parents, a lot of Christian parents will look at that and they'll say, no, you're not going to waste your life doing that. You're going to go to college and get a real job and make real money, and things like that. And so that decision is considered much like Mary's decision as wasting something. Or the person maybe that has finished college, maybe they're in a career already, and they're starting to earn the income that comes with having a college degree, and they feel that they're called out of that life to go into full-time ministry. And people might look at that and say, well, what a waste. Think of it from the perspective of the attorney or the doctor or something who went to school for 7 years or 9 years or whatever it may be, and then they just feel the call to go into that full-time ministry. Most people are going to think they're being a fool.
Yeah.
You wasted all that time, all that money, to do this, and now you're going to do that.
The 300 denarii was maybe almost a year's of wages. Now you're talking a lifetime of wages.
Yeah, absolutely. And learning and all that. So those kinds of examples, and break it down to something real simple. Something that I can relate with is like you have like maybe you're interacting with your spouse, for instance. No, I'm serious here, and they're having this sweet time with the Lord, and you're pulling your hair out. That's what happened to me. You're pulling your hair out because the kids are crazy, the dogs are crazy, whatever. But they're having a wonderful time, and they come out and they're glowing from the mountain like Moses. And you're thinking, you spent too long. You know what I mean? I need some help or whatever. Or maybe it's vice versa, where the wife is pulling her hair out and the guy is like, but that was sweet. Things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's helpful. It's not so much the object that was given, but the how it relates to the way other people's view it. And being able to stay eyes fixed on whom you're giving it to as an act of worship.
that's from the perspective of Mary.
Yeah.
But again, I mentioned this Sunday, with the exception of Judas, the rest of the disciples, they're good guys, and they're not trying to be jerks about this. They're not trying to, that money should have been given to me or something like that. They sincerely want to use that money for good purposes, it seems, here. And sometimes that's me. Sometimes I'm that guy that's observing the way somebody else is worshiping, or the decisions somebody else is making to respond to the Lord, like the Christian parents that are responding to their teenager or whatever. And I have to guard myself and check myself that I don't judge their manner of worshiping the Lord as wrong because it's not something necessarily I'm willing to do, called to do, or maybe even courageous enough to do. And so that person has to wrestle with that, both sides of the equation.
Yeah. So then, speaking towards that other side, how, I guess the adjacent question to what is this is how do you strike a balance? Because Jesus does care about the poor. He's given very specific commandments to not only go into all the world, but then be his ambassador in all the world, caring for the fatherless, the widow, the poor, the needy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Very specific, very clear instruction, and we're seeing, well, I'm not interacting with Jesus right before his burial, so am I supposed to just wipe away that thought of devotion and just move towards the poor? Like, where's the balance?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things you see with the disciples is they seem to have this mindset, this attitude that it's either or. Either you serve the poor or you worship the Lord, but you can't do both. I think Jesus makes it clear because he says you're going to have the poor with you always. There's plenty of time to help the poor. So that you don't have to pick one or the other, but that you can do both here. So I think that's a key thing to keep in mind. And there was this big push a little while back about close the doors on Sunday and go out and serve, and they had shirts. The churches left the building and all that kind of stuff. I get it. That's cool. But you could go serve Saturday and still come to church Sunday and gather with the saints and sing and worship and be taught and all those kinds of things. So I didn't understand why it had to be on a Sunday when that people were pushing so much for it. It's almost like I'm not going to serve too much, God. It's either one or the other kind of thing. And it's not one or the other. It should be both. That's my thoughts.
That's
I'm sure
helpful.
I'll get some letters. Why I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Maybe they'll send you a shirt. You love shirts.
I do like shirts. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, this was helpful.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so, again, hopefully it was helpful to you watching. If it wasn't, just leave a comment and say this wasn't helpful at all.
Yeah, send Will an email. He enjoys those.
But another way you can be helpful is you're just letting us know what you want to hear discussed. This is why we just keep telling, read ahead, consider these things ahead of time, that you might your thoughts might be stirred up as you come into listening on Sunday, and you're right there tracking along, and then, well, he didn't get to this, and I really had a question about that. This is a perfect opportunity to make sure you're walking away from each week really understanding, gleaning what you were hoping to glean from the time in the text together.
I agree. Yeah.
So,
Excellent. Thank
be
you
blessed.
so much. Enjoy your Memorial Day.